Here's a video on how to swap the rear or front of the GHK G5 hybrid lower. This can be if you need to replace any parts in the front, or if you want to swap out to a different front or rear, like this one that has the built-in HPA regulator, or one that uses different mags like MP5 mags. So to start, you need to first remove all of the fire control group parts, and then probably the only tool that you'll need is a long 2.5 millimeter, I believe. Yeah, 2.5 millimeter hex. And you can also use an Allen key, but what you need to do is be able to reach from the back of the hybrid lower to this screw, which is the screw that really binds the two together. So I'll just unscrew that one. And then that just drops out. And then there's a couple silver screws that connect the front and the rear. So I'll take those out. Now you can see that the lower is already separating, but the push connect for the airline has a little bit of an overlap, so you won't be able to separate them right away without removing that. So to get to there, you're going to need a flathead to reach in there and push on the collet of the push connect. Oh, that's a little too big. So I'm going to use where's my punch? Oh, here it is. I'll just use a punch, push on the collet so that it disengages the teeth that hold the HPA line. And then I'll pull the HPA line. That will just pull it right out. And then this is a 3 millimeter hex. And that goes right into the center of the push connect to unscrew it. There's a little window here so you can see that it's being unscrewed. And that just pulls out like that. And then these two pieces can be separated. So if you had a new lower or a new upper, you would then just swap in the other piece that you needed. Oh, piece normally sits in here, but it falls out when these are separated. From here, if you need to access the valve, you would first remove this with the 2.5 millimeter, and I'm just going to do this by hand because it is a really light thread. So I'll just do that by hand. That will drop out. And then some other pieces that will drop out will be the rod for the BB stop mechanism, which I'll show you how to put that back in, and the plunger. And then you will need a valve key tool to unscrew this. There's one guy, I'll link it in the chat, I think his name's Guillotine Airsoft, and he sells these little pieces that are just a valve key tool that attaches to your hex. So you would plug that in like that, send it in there, and then unscrew it. And we also sell multiple versions of these. So this is the medium valve. We sell a small version and a large version. The M valve seems to work pretty well for us. You would use the larger one if you had stronger hammer springs and you wanted more power, and then you would use the S valve, the small valve, if you wanted to, like if you were shooting too hot, but you want to keep your FPS high, your PSI high for the bolt to cycle. Okay, so now I'll put it back together for you. First, we insert the plunger and making sure that it's upright so that it lines up with that hole. We'll let that sit there. And then the BB stop lever is going to go in at this angle. And you can see an opening that it drops down into. So I'm just lining that up, letting that drop down. And you can see that it's sort of lining up so that it doesn't run into the screw. The head of the screw actually keeps that in place. Then I'll drop the screw back in. And this one I'm also only tightening by hand because it just barely needs to be tightened in. Oops, the piece dropped out. So let me put this back in. And the screw. Just going in by hand. It's really like only half a turn or one total turn. And then this piece is pushing up against this wall, laying against this wall here. And I'm sending it into this groove as I push this back on. Perfect. And then I'll reattach these screws on the sides. And all of these will just go down until they bottom out. No need to over tighten. Like so. Oh, battery died. All right, and then this final screw goes in through the bottom. So I'm gonna send this in through the rear and drop that screw on the tool. That lines up like that. Same thing, just until it bottoms out. So we can test the function of the BB stop by pressing on this mechanism to make sure that everything is moving smoothly. We can see that the valve in here is opening and closing when I'm pressing on the plunger. The mag release is intact, and now I would just reinstall my fire control group. Before installing the fire control group, we need to reinstall the push connect and the HPA line. So we're just going to drop the push connect in there and use the same 3mm hex. Screwing in while watching it through the opening, and you're just going until it bottoms out. There's no need to over tighten it or anything. So I can see it bottomed out there, and now it's fine. And then I'll take the HPA line, push it back through here. And this is where we're using the flat head just to push on the top of the line so that as we're pushing the line in, then it will go into the push connect. I'm sort of doing this blind. I'll turn this around so I can actually see the push connect, so that I know how hard I should be pushing the flathead to get it to line up. Okay, so I can see that it's in there now. So I'm just going to push it in the rest of the way. And then to set the O-ring and the teeth, I'll just twist the line a little bit. And then now we're good to go. And your adapter should be reassembled and you're ready to play.